Welcome into the Stand Like Men podcast. My name is Daniel Challenberg.
And I'm Logan Ingram.
And we are here to explore what it means to live out true biblical masculinity. This podcast is about us becoming the men that God wants us to be, and we're encouraging y'all to join us along the way.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us connect with others looking for conversations like this one.
So what are we talking about today, Logan?
Talking about anger and forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know anything about it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And we decided to group these together because you can't really have forgiveness. You can't talk about forgiveness without talking about anger, specifically about letting. If you look at definitions of forgiveness, practically all of them talk about releasing the anger in order to forgive somebody. We're just going to kind of do a quick overview of the two. Like, there have been books and books and books written about both of these, and I'm sure we could talk for hours on this, but, here we go. Okay, so what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about anger or forgiveness first?
Let's talk about anger first, because anger comes first.
Oftentimes.
And then you got to forgive people after you've been angry.
Okay.
There's lots of ways anger can rear its ugly head. Let's do this. So you can be angry at situations. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't believe we're here.
Yep.
You can be angry at the person across from you.
Mm-hmm.
You can be angry at yourself.
Okay.
Because I would like to talk, a lot of my talking be about self.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've struggled with that so much. And I don't really hold on to anger towards other people. Like it's not a huge struggle. It is a struggle, of course. Mm-hmm. And I still do get mad at people. I'm still mad about stuff that happened a long time ago. But it's the stuff that I can't let go is personal stuff for me. Mm. You get mad at your spouse. Like, we're married. Mm-hmm. It happens. Yeah. And I really don't believe in marriages that say they've never fought or got angry at each other. I don't.
Yeah, I question their strength.
Yes, I do too. I don't question that they've never done it.
Yeah.
Like, it fought.
Yeah.
I do question if they say they've never been angry at their spouse.
Yeah.
I just cannot imagine a planet in which that is the case.
Sure.
Maybe they're just that much more mature than we are.
I doubt it. Well, because they're still human is
exactly. And that's why I believe
and
that.
It's a very natural.
It's a raw, normal emotion.
It's a very natural thing to happen, is to be angry. Yep. I mean, the Bible says, you're going to get angry. But then there's a follow-up to that. Like, there's an expectation of how we are to deal with that anger in an appropriate manner.
One of my pet peeves, my wife knows this now, mm-hmm. is and what made me the most angry at her that I've ever been. It's not calling me a name. It's not saying anything. It's laughing at me. Mm. Like, like, maybe we're having it out. Mm-hmm. We're having not passionate, vigorous fellowship, I guess. I don't know if that's a good word either.
Intense discussion.
Intense fellowship. There you go. Okay. Intense fellowship.
Intense fellowship.
Yeah. One of my buddies uses that all the time. They're having for when he's arguing with his wife.
Yeah.
They're having intense fellowship.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe we're having intense fellowship. And she does the contemptuous laugh. Mm. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
Sure.
Sometimes some of the stuff that I say, I'm sure in the moment through anger and the circumstance, it's like, I think it's probably funny, some of it, like, if you just, like, sometimes in the moment, you get something strikes you weird. It's like really inappropriate humor, or not inappropriate humor, but inappropriate time to laugh. Some people laugh when they get nervous type of stuff. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for me.
Yeah.
If you laugh at me, why? And so that's for all your listeners out there. Anybody that knows me personally, don't do that, please. And it's not like if I trip and fall, you laugh at me. That has nothing to do with it. It's if we're in a heated discussion and I'm arguing with you and you laugh at my logic or something like that, dude, it sends me over the top. Mm-hmm. Like I my brain stops functioning. I get so angry. And so I have to let it go. And like, but it all boils down to disrespect.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate disrespect. Besides maybe slapping me in the face or something like that, it's to me, it's a lack of respect.
Sure.
And so I get really angry over that. Well, that I can get over. You know, me and my wife have had plenty of arguments and intense fellowship, and we're fine. Like and that's really good for you. And because there's a forgiveness factor, because I found out that's not really what she's doing. She's not laughing at me out of contempt. It's something else.
Yeah.
And so, but she knows not to do that. Even if it's something else.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me in that moment and in the heat of the moment to categorize. What do you call it? Compartmentalize that. Yeah. Not categorize. Compartmentalize it and say, well, she didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
To me, it's, oh, yes, she did.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some forgiveness after that. You know, I get angry with my kids. Especially when they do the same thing over and over and over. And I'm like, what on earth is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I quit. And it drives me up the wall. I get mad at clients. I get mad. I used to get real mad at my parents, not so much anymore because they don't have that, you know, parental hold on my life as a teenager, thinking they're just holding me back from everything and no fun at all. And, you know, me and my brother used to fight all the time. I was just angry at him all the time growing up. And so I don't deal with that type of stuff because we're not around each other like that. We're not picking at each other and we're not sharing the same room. So that's anger like towards another person. There's also stuff like situational anger, maybe like, well, crap, a tree fell across the driveway and I'm mad because I had to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And so nobody can do anything about that. And so you just get angry about that. You're angry at your situation. And a lot of times it's not really anything you could have done anything about.
Yeah.
And then there's the anger itself that I struggle with the most. And that's, okay, I see this mistake that I made in the past. Okay, that really negatively affected my life. And then I can't seem to let go in anger at myself for allowing that to happen. I can't let it go that I did that or that I allowed myself to be in that position. And so maybe, you know, okay, I got situational anger stuff. I ran out of gas. Well, guess what? That's my fault. And so I'm like, gosh, I'm mad at myself for that. I'll get over that pretty quick and easy. But maybe I've mentioned that I've lost businesses before and like opportunities. Sometimes it's hard to let that go for me. And I find myself just being angry at myself. You know, the self-talk thing. Well, dude, why'd you do that? Well, just because you're an idiot. And that's just who you are. And so you got to talk yourself off a ledge and go through a lot of our episodes that we've already been through about imposter syndrome and fear, all of that stuff. And so if you haven't listened to those, go back and check them out before you listen to this one. But I found myself as a dad, I was kind of backing way up. I don't even remember if I've really talked about this. I'm sure I mentioned it before, but I was bullied like violently, really badly growing up. And I find myself like, I look back and see, oh man, well, I was a weird kid. And so it's like, well, of course you were bullied. And so I'm mad at myself for being weird, you know? And like, logically, I'm like, I was a freaking kid. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it didn't matter. Like if I see a kid like me now, I'm like, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. They're just a kid. Yeah. But when I was when my kids were first starting to get into grade school, I would see one of them do something that I did that caused me to be bullied really bad. And even though it wasn't a bad thing for me to do, I was just so angry. I would put that anger on them. Like, don't do that because this will happen. I wouldn't explain it to them that way. Yeah. Because of course I don't want them to feel that. I mean, that's not fair for me to put my fear of being bullied and stuff from 30 years ago on them. But I feel that because I'm mad at that little kid for behaving that way. Me, you know, I said, why weren't you different? Why did you do that? Why did you do these things? And because maybe if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't have been bullied. Maybe if you hadn't been bullied, this wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have coped this way. And so it's just this long string of unhealthy resentment and anger towards myself.
Yeah.
And so I doubt anybody would think that by talking to me or listening or looking at me, but that's the truth, you know, and I think there's a lot of us that go through stuff just like that all throughout the world. And that's the reason we're doing this podcast, is to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, but
well, we're all good at hiding and we're all good at masking, and
yes.
We all have defense mechanisms in place to protect ourselves.
Right.
And you made it through grade school and high school with bullies and whatnot. You developed your own defense mechanisms. And watching your kids go into grade school without those defense mechanisms, they're doing this. You see them going down the same path.
Yes.
And you're like, no, I know where this ends. Please don't.
Right. Well, and so that's where forgiveness really comes in, because if I can, like, that anger is being projected onto other people now. And like, if I'm holding on to something and can't let it go and can't forgive, it continues to come up. Yeah. And it does. Like, I've still got some anger towards people that I've been involved with, and sometimes I think I'm over it. And then something happens and I'm not.
Yeah.
And that spills out into, well, like we talked about, fear. You know, you get afraid, well, it's going to happen again. And so a lot of my anger lash outs towards family or whatever or even myself is fear based. And so I'm like, well, I'm deathly afraid of this happening again. So I cannot allow you to do that. And I cannot allow myself to do that. And if I do, because I'm human, or if you do, well, me, I just, man, I get angry about it. And so that's where the forgiveness has to come in. Like, if we can't forgive ourselves or forgive others, I mean, it takes a hold, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, just like I've said, I've thought I've been over some of my anger, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And I realize that when it does keep popping up, I'm like, well, okay, I don't, you know, and I try and evaluate the situation and be like, okay, well, have I not forgiven for that?
Yeah.
And most of the time, yeah, that's why. That's why it keeps coming up. It's because I really haven't forgiven anybody. And so that's just a constant struggle, is to make sure, because I question it sometimes, like, what, you know, like, because I was the type that was a conflict avoider and just pushed feelings down. So sometimes I'm like, well, okay, well, am I just not dealing with it? Or am I forgiving this person and it still hurts?
Yeah.
Like, so I kind of wonder about that sometimes, is have I actually forgiven them? And it's just, there's just pain there for memories, or is the pain anger?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So to answer your question, of how do you know if you've forgiven somebody? If you can look at the person that you perceived the wrong from, if you can look at that person that you need to forgive, and if something good happens to them, if you're happy about it, like if you're like good for them, or if something bad happens to them and you say, oh man, that sucks. Like, if you can have that response, then I would say that you've forgiven them. If you are disappointed when good things happen, or a little excited when bad things happen to that person, you haven't forgiven them.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
Don't talk to me like that.
It's terribly inconvenient. So you were talking about you need to forgive people. The first question to ask is, why should we forgive somebody? And I've got a verse for you. I've got two verses. I describe these as,
because what you just said,
yeah,
your example is a really good one, and it shows me that no, I have not.
Yeah.
I have not.
Sucks, don't it?
Forgiven all of them. So,
It's hard.
Go, please.
Yeah. Well, I
would love to hear this
Here's what I
verse.
describe as the most inconvenient verses in Scripture.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. It's in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 6, verse 14 to 15. For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive other people their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. Here's why it's inconvenient. He's saying if you want to be forgiven by God, you need to forgive other people. And if you don't forgive other people, God won't forgive you. Now, if you read the verses before that or the verses after that, you can kind of look for like a caveat or a loophole. The problem is there is no caveat or loophole.
Yeah.
It's just there. It is what it is. It's you must do this, and if you don't do this, God's not going to help you out. And so you can say, I can forgive you for everything except for your hypocrisy. It's like, okay, well then God can forgive you for everything except for your hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. And if you back up a couple verses in the Lord's Prayer, and forgive us our debts as we have also forgiven our debtors, or forgive us our trespasses as we also forgive those who trespass against us. Like it's saying, like right there, it says, like when we pray to God, like, God, please forgive me as you know I'm forgiving other people. And then he comes out and says flat out, like, if you forgive other people, God will forgive you. But if you don't forgive them, God's not going to forgive you. And that's why it's the most inconvenient verse. And if you fast forward to Matthew chapter 7, it's all one sermon. And oftentimes when you get into like dissecting sermons and like sermon structure, like it's usually all connected, and the things that you say at the end support and edify the things that you say at the beginning, and vice versa. Like it's all connected. And so in Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 1, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So like whatever, if you're out not forgiving people, like literally it's coming back to you, and it's going to come out and spill into your lap. The amount of forgiveness you offer to people is coming back at you. And so that's why it's inconvenient, is because we're all the hero in our own story. And I view myself as very smart and intelligent and the person that knows all the answers, because from my perspective, I have all the answers. I am smart. I am intelligent. I have all the wisdom. The problem is I don't understand everything that I don't know. And I don't necessarily know what I don't know. Because I think that I know what I'm talking about, and because I think I understand, when I have an anger towards somebody, I like to view it as a righteous anger. Whenever I'm mad at somebody, I feel like it's very valid. And usually I like to rest on my own Pharisaical morals. And I say, well, because I do this and this and this, and because I know this, that person is wrong because they're in direct opposition to these whatever. And so I feel more valid in my anger towards that person. The problem is it's all bunk. It doesn't matter, because ultimately what Jesus is saying here, and we're going to get into other verses throughout Scripture, is what Jesus forgave you for is so much worse than what you are expected to forgive other people for, which actually ties into the next verse I was going to bring up. So in Matthew chapter 18, starting in verse 21, then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Some translations say 7 times, 7 times, or 70 times, 7 times, excuse me. And he then goes on to tell a parable about a king who is going through his debts, and he's like, you know what? Brings in a servant and says, you owe me $1,000. Don't worry about it. We'll cancel it. Just go on, be well, whatever. And the servant was stoked about this, loved it, very excited, and I would be too if I had $1,000 debt that was canceled. The servant then goes out and finds another servant, another buddy, who owes him $100. Says, give me my money, and starts beating the tar out of him. Well,
give me my money, man.
Give me my money. The king did not care for this, brought him in. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I canceled all the debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. Jesus says it in red letters, like you are expected to forgive other people because what you are being forgiven of is a lot worse, a lot more heinous than what you are expected to forgive other people from.
Yeah.
And it needs to be from your heart. You can't just say, I forgive you, and then just hold on to that anger and hold on to that resentment and bitterness towards the person because you're not actually forgiving them.
Yeah.
And how you forgive other people is how you can expect God to forgive you. I mean, we're expected to. Jesus says it straight up. And if we call ourselves Christians, we have to do what Jesus says to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no caveats. There's no loopholes. There's nothing. We do what Jesus says or we don't.
I like it.
I don't.
Well, I don't. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I say it's the most inconvenient verse, because I like to think that I know what I'm doing. I like to think that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm the hero of the story. And I'm being told that I need to ignore all of the anger that I feel that I have and forgive somebody else.
Yep.
And boy, howdy, is that inconvenient.
Yes, it is.
Because that also negates any chance of righteous anger. I can't say that my anger is righteous because that means that I would be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, we feel safe and comfortable in our anger, don't we?
Yeah.
We can. And it's almost like a comforting blanket.
It is.
It's like, that's all I've got.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I know that's been in a bunch of movies before. As people are, being confronted with something. Like, but my anger is all I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we, like, growing up, like, anytime this topic was brought up, like anger, it's like, in your anger, don't sin, but it's good to be angry. Like, Jesus was angry. It's like, Jesus is God.
Yeah. It's righteous anger, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just anger. Like,
yeah.
Nobody ran into his bumper. Or
yeah. Like, God is...
He wasn't angry at people for calling him names. He was angry for the zeal for his Father's house.
Yeah. And like,
a little different.
God is the only person described in Scripture as having righteous anger.
Yeah.
In fact, James chapter 1, starting in verse 19, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Human anger does not produce the righteousness.
Yep.
There is no such thing as human righteous anger. And unfortunately, we are humans. We can't have righteous anger.
But I want to. I want to hold on to it, Daniel.
Sucks for you, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know.
I've never thought of that. And I've never read it like that. But I mean, it's plain as day.
Yeah.
So thanks for making me feel worse.
Sorry about that. I hope you can forgive me. It's not easy. Certainly. Well, and a lot of it is our culture is designed to make us angry. Like, Twitter is an anger factory. Like, that's all it is. Look at our news networks. Like, it is nothing but fear mongering and stirring up anger. You can't swing a dead cat on social media without finding a political post that is basically saying, I am holy and the people that I agree with are good and you are evil. Our culture is designed to make us angry.
Yeah.
Our culture is designed to do this and to separate us, but we're called by Christ. If we claim to be Christian, we're expected to forgive other people, and we're expected to live in harmony with them. And you can't live in harmony with somebody if you're holding a grudge against them.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many posts I've deleted.
Yeah.
That I had typed out and was ready to hit send and deleted them because I realized that it was just was just a trigger response to something somebody said online. And then I realized, well, this is really stupid. Like, first of all, I'm not going to change anything.
No.
And second of all, I'm stooping to their level
by
validating what they're saying by responding.
And they're never going to, you can't change somebody's mind on social media.
Nope. You cannot.
I felt like I got close once.
Yeah.
But I got close to changing my mind once.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I didn't because I was right. And that dude was a moron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but that's the human condition. Like everybody thinks that they're right. And now we're running into people will ignore all evidence. Well, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Going back to the parable and what you said, if Christ has forgiven us of so much, why can't we do so with so little? You know, and I've had that conversation about the anger towards myself deal. It's like, man, how self-centered am I that I hold on to that? Like that I can't let that go. And that's a piece where I'm like comfortable in that.
Yeah.
Like I'm comfortable being angry at that other guy because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be who I am now. Because it did spur action and change. Yeah. But at another point, it's like, well, I don't have to be mad about it anymore. But I mean, and my wife talks to me about it like that too.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Please.
Have you forgiven yourself?
For a lot, yes. Okay. Not for everything.
Yeah. That's hard.
I'm working on it.
That's hard.
Daily working on it. It crosses my mind daily right now. I
was talking with a friend several years ago, and right after I had heard this take on Matthew 16 or 6:14 and 15. Like I listened to it, I'm like, man, this is hard. And I was just explaining it to this friend, and she was listening. She's like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but I'm not really mad at anybody else. I don't really have to forgive anybody else. I'm like, you have to forgive yourself. She goes, and like she immediately like complete like mental reset on her, and she just like broke down, and she's like, how dare you say something so accurate?
Yeah.
And like, because at no point did she hint that she was mad at herself, but like you could tell that she just wasn't able to forgive herself.
Well, I mean, it's rampant.
Yeah.
Like, and I see it at these retreats, at the seminars, at just men's calls that I do in groups that I attend. It's rampant.
Yeah.
And that's probably the number one issue. Probably. It really is. We can't forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
And so therefore what happens, we're angry at ourselves, we can't forgive ourselves. Then we say, well, we're the only ones like this. And then we pull into our shell and isolate from everybody, and Satan won.
Yeah.
So
we have to forgive ourselves as well as forgiving other people.
Yep.
And the whole thing with anger is it's an isolating tool and tactic. It is.
Yeah. Because it pulls you away from whoever you're angry at. And then they've also don't have that relationship with you in that moment. Yeah. And then if you notice, like I've noticed, like maybe friend groups or something. Oh, I'm angry. I see it with my teenagers all the time. Well, so-and-so in our friend group made us angry or made me angry.
Yeah.
Well, now I can't hang out with them. Well, that means now I can't hang out with the other person and the other two friends that I have.
Yeah.
Because I can't be near that person because I'm angry. And I mean, it really happens a lot with teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're not just severing one relationship. They're busting up groups, just because they're mad at one person or can't get over one little thing. And so, and I've seen that happen.
So yeah, we need to forgive people. It's good to be unified with people and to maintain a relationship with people. However, there are some people that you should not stay in a relationship with. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about generational inheritance. And there are people that are abused by their parents. You should not stay in a relationship with someone who abuses you.
Yeah.
If you're being abused by someone, you need to exit the relationship. However, you still have to forgive that person.
Yeah.
That's what's hard.
Yeah.
And is you have to forgive them, and you have to, like, from your heart, you have to forgive them, but you can't stay in a relationship with them. And finding that balance. But like, And kind of like what you're saying, is it anger or is it pain? It's real hard to know.
Yeah.
But, God's grace is sufficient.
Yeah.
But you have to forgive people. And another thing is you have to be the one that initiates the forgiveness. And you don't even have to talk to that person when you forgive them. There's some people who are going to, like, they're people that may abuse you or may wrong you in some way, and then they die. Mm-hmm. Well, you're never getting an apology from that person.
It's a big one.
You still have to forgive them.
That's a big one for me, and I've talked about in therapy a lot, is letting go of the anger, but still feeling, feeling the hurt or the lesson learned, but it not hurt you so badly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where forgiveness comes in, because until you forgive that person, you're going to feel it all, I think.
Yeah.
And once you finally forgive, it doesn't hurt quite as bad.
Yeah.
You can I don't want to say dwell on it, because that's not the right word, but you can sit with it and not feel so hurt and so angry, and you can pull the lessons out of it, whatever situation that was.
Yeah.
But if you're just angry, you can't do any of that. You can't move forward from anger.
Yeah.
And I've seen it plenty of times in my own life. It can build up. Anger builds. I mean, you see it in movies. I mean,
builds and festers.
Yeah. You see it in the Inside Out movie, Disney movie, whatever. Yeah. And but yeah, it builds and festers, and how to where you open your mouth, it comes out. Why? It's because you're full of it. You're full of anger instead of being full of forgiveness, full of hope, full of love.
Full of Christ.
It's a poison, and it will. You can only pour from a full cup. You know, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're empty of forgiveness and love and hope and all those things, and you're full of anger, what's going to happen? It's going to spill out.
Yeah.
And I've seen it plenty of times in my own life. It spills out to people around me.
Yeah. And
generally the people that are closest to me, because I know I'm safe to do it with them.
Yeah.
They're not going to fight back, maybe like someone else would.
Yeah.
They're the safe place for me to be angry.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
No.
At all. Because I've experienced that, and I've done that to people.
Yeah.
And it's not okay.
No.
Just because they're your safe place, that doesn't mean that you get to unload on them.
Yeah. And what's your goal in unloading? Is it to process the emotion so that you can get to forgiveness, like processing the anger, or are you just trying to let it boil over?
Generally, it's a boil over effect.
That's what I find.
Yeah.
And like that's going back to arguing with your wife. But like arguing with my wife, I don't argue with your wife hardly ever.
I hope not.
Yeah. I don't often really get past pleasantries with her.
Yeah.
Just because we don't interact with her.
She can argue.
Yeah. Anyway, arguing with one's spouse, what's the goal of the argument? Like when you're having this intense fellowship, as we call it, and having this argument with your wife, is your goal to be right, or is your goal to return to harmony?
Right.
Because you can't just, and at no point in this conversation are we saying that you need to bury your anger and you need to bury your emotions down deep. That doesn't actually help anybody. What we're saying is you need to process it and you need to forgive that person.
Right.
From whether they actually wronged you or whether you just perceived a wrong from that person. Because I don't know how many times I've felt wronged by somebody, but they didn't actually do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. And which is why I can't wait for an apology from them, or I don't necessarily have to go talk to that person and before I forgive them, because oftentimes they may not see it as that they wronged you.
Yeah.
And so if I'm just waiting on an apology, I'm never going to get one. And then if I just wait for the apology, I'm never going to forgive that person. Mm-hmm. And same with arguing with Kara. Like there are times that I feel wronged by her. And then once we get into this intense discussion or fellowship, like come to find out, like she didn't do anything wrong. It was because that day I was just in a funk, or I forgot to get gas in the car, or I didn't sleep well, or I didn't eat well, or I didn't get my workout in, like whatever it is, like there's something else that allowed me to interpret what she did that was fine and benign. I interpreted it as something malicious. And because of that, like I have to forgive her for that, because she didn't actually do anything wrong, but I perceived it as wrong.
Right.
But at no point should we ever just like bury our emotions, because that's not helpful.
No, I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, well, I just let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't think so.
We just become hollow.
Right. That's what happened to
and
me.
Numb.
I mean, it really is. And it's, if I'm being very transparent, it got to where, people that would pass me just literally think that I'm mad at the world.
Yeah.
Or they cannot see emotion on my face.
Yeah.
Because I don't have them.
If you don't process emotions, it just becomes a cancer.
Yes. Yep. I don't think I've ever really talked to anybody about it.
No.
Yeah. People would, some of my friends would even joke with, he's just mad at the world. And it's like, I'm not mad. It's like, I just don't feel anymore.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. And it's, I struggled with anger a lot. I'll go into it in another episode probably, but like, it did feel like that safety blanket. And then it got to where I'm just like, I can't function under this. And so I just buried it deep, and I just became numb and hollow and like that. But what it does, it doesn't just go away. You're not able to ignore it. It just sits there and festers.
Yeah.
And it's like a cancer. It just continues to grow until it finally boils over, and usually against somebody that's innocent.
Yep.
But like that's in Ephesians when it's saying, I think it's Ephesians, don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Yep.
It's saying you have to process it, because until you process it, it's going to be there. You have to process it, and you have to forgive whoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I started noticing that, people don't really say, oh, he's just mad at the world anymore. Mm-hmm. And I feel everything again, because I felt like I was a very feeling person, like emotional and stuff growing up. And that's probably part of the reason I got bullied, was I was really emotional. And then I went through years where I was just kind of numb to everything. Like, okay, well, I feel sad. Well, I don't want to feel that way. So I'm just going to sit here and do nothing and think about nothing. Well, I'm angry. Well, I don't want to be mad at somebody, because I don't even want to feel anything. Mm-hmm. And so
feeling nothing is better than feeling pain.
Right. Yeah. And what I've finally realized just not that long ago was that I had to forgive these people. I had to forgive myself. And when I started doing that, because you asked me if I've forgiven myself. Yes, for a lot. Yes. Yeah. And that is why I'm able to be on podcasts like this, why I'm able to have a good relationship with my kids and my wife and have fun. Yeah. Like I felt like I just went through years where nothing was really fun. I tried to escape to everything, to books, to hunting, to whatever, because I was just mad and didn't trust the world pretty much. And just kind of just calloused. Yeah. Pretty much. I think anger can make you very calloused. Yeah, for sure. And you can't feel anything, and you don't have empathy for people or sympathy. I mean, you don't. It's that's a bad emotion to sit in. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. Yeah. So forgiveness is the only way I've started finding my way back.
Yeah. It's the only way that we have available to us.
Yeah. And what's funny is
I have to forgive them.
Right. And like I've been going through these like retreats and stuff. Like tomorrow I'm going to another one. And it's like I've been really weepy lately. And I fight with being mad at myself for being that way. Because I remember crying over nothing when I was in elementary school, and kids make fun of me for it. Mm-hmm. So even at 39, I'll be 40 next month. Yeah. Still feeling anger towards myself for feeling an emotion. Yeah. Like how stupid is that? Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But I do it because it's comfortable, or not. I mean, it's not comfortable anymore, but it's a habit. Yeah. But the reason I'm starting to feel all of those things again and be open to that is because I have forgiven myself and other people through these wrongs. You know, whether, or even if they're just perceived wrongs, whether they were real or not, they were real to me. And I allowed myself to hold on to that too long.
It's not easy.
No.
It's hard.
It's hard.
But it's worth it.
And letting go of anger too. I mean, it really, like going to therapy, like the only way to heal from stuff, like the only real reason people go to therapy is trauma and you know, anger and stuff like that. Well, I mean, to heal from that stuff, you have to open those wounds up again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
I hate it. And I wish it wasn't like that, but that's the only way to do it. So you're going to feel it. So it's hard, not in just, well, okay, I got to put up with this person, even though I don't want to. It's hard personally because you're going to feel it all again pretty hard before you're able to actually let it go.
Yeah.
Like that's been my perception anyway, is I can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, all's forgiven.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And like you talked about, you got to deal with it. You got to process it, and processing it opens up those wounds. Just kind of like cleaning out a wound on your arm.
Oh, it burns.
Yeah,
it hurts.
you gotta pull the skin apart and open it and clean it.
Yeah.
That way it can get better.
Yeah.
Same thing. And forgiveness is the way to do that.
Yeah. And our culture tries to get us to say or to believe that in order to be like a manly man, you have to hold on to your anger.
Yeah.
You look at movies,
it's cultural
like
thing. I don't even know if it's cultural. It might be worldwide. I don't know.
Maybe. I know at least in our culture, in the United States, I mean, you look at movies. You got John Wick.
Oh, yeah,
he's just
revenge.
angry.
Vengeance, revenge.
Rambo. All these manly man movies. It's the main character is angry.
Yep.
And you have to hold on to that anger. The problem is, if we hold on to this anger, it just festers in us. And we talk about it like it usually boils over and attacks somebody else. Like we become a threat to the people around us.
Yeah.
And that's we're not able to protect the people around us because we are the threat for them. Like we're the ones that are putting them in danger.
Yep.
And so that's why we have to process this. That's why we have to deal with it and forgive people. Anger can be good as a catalyst to get you to take action.
Well, and I brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gotten mad at myself for being another way.
Yeah. Looking at injustice in the world. When I see an injustice in the world, I don't have a good example right now, but like I see that and I get angry because that's an injustice. That's wrong. I can go out and I can use that anger as a catalyst of I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to change that, but I don't act out of anger when I try to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. You're not acting out of anger.
I'm not acting out of anger. I'm using that initial.
Just responding.
I'm recognizing that there's a problem, and the anger is what triggers me to say there's a problem here, and that's a natural response. But I move on from that anger, and I go and I work to make a difference.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us on the Stand Like Men podcast. If you've enjoyed this show, please don't forget to subscribe and give us a rating. And you can also write into us at standlikemen@gmail.com or comment on any of our YouTube or social media posts. We'd love to hear some of your ideas about podcasts that you would like to hear us talk about, or just give us some comments, some encouraging words, whatever. Our verse is 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14.
Be watchful.
Stand firm in the faith. Act like men. Be strong.
Let all that you do be done in love.